Francis Golding's life, ideas, and great achievements. Dear audience, today we will discuss the life and academic achievements of a great academic figure, British Professor Francis Golding. Francis Golding made important contributions in the fields of education, language, literature, and sociology, and her work is still recognized worldwide. The information available about Francis Golding's home life is generally scarce, as most of her attention and work was in the field of education, and she rarely shared her personal life publicly. Most of her fame was related to her educational, social, and cultural work. However, some basic facts are available about her personal life. Francis Golding belonged to a generation that played an important role in the field of education. Her parents and family members were associated with education and research, and this environment influenced Francis's educational journey. Her family always encouraged knowledge and the independent process of thinking. Francis Golding's personal life is characterized by a balanced and responsible personality. She was so absorbed in her work that not many details are publicly available. However, her close friends and colleagues played an important role in her life, with whom she had deep discussions on academic and social issues. Francis Golding devoted much of her time to research and teaching, and she was a strong advocate of the idea that individuals should live with interest and commitment to their work. Francis Golding's home environment and the details of her daily life were as simple and purposeful as her professional life. Her focus was always on education, social justice, and culture, and it is likely that her personal life reflected these values. Information about Francis Golding's home life is limited, and most of her focus was on academic and social issues. She was a strong ideological figure, and her personal life likely reflected the same values and principles that were part of her professional work. Francis Golding is one of those teachers who not only achieved success in her teaching career but also laid the foundation for revolutionary changes in the field of education through her ideas and research. She was born in Britain in the mid-20th century, and grew up in a period when education was undergoing profound changes. Francis Golding received her early education in her homeland, and then she went on to study at various educational institutions. She began her professional life as an assistant professor and later taught at various universities. The focus of her research interests was on questions related to the social, cultural, and psychological aspects of education. Her studies focused on how language and educational theories affect social change. Here are some quotes and ideas inspired by her work. Education is a powerful tool that can change the hearts and minds of men. This quote reflects her belief that the purpose of education is not only to impart knowledge but also to transform the way people think and behave. Educational institutions are places for the promotion of principles of social justice. This quote reflects her view that educational institutions should play a role in supporting social justice and providing equal opportunities. Language and culture are intertwined. Education allows us to understand the relationship between the two. Francis Golding's research work was generally concerned with aspects of education that were related to language, identity, and culture. She delved deeply into the social meaning of education and sought to understand how social background and personal experiences can form the basis of educational success or failure. She believed that education was not just a process of knowledge transfer, but also a means of establishing social justice and cultural harmony. An important aspect of Golding's ideas was the importance of equality in the education system. She believed that educational institutions should provide an equal opportunity for every student, regardless of their background. She identified the existence of class differences and racial prejudice in education and emphasized that the system should be designed in such a way that the abilities of each individual are properly assessed and their full development is ensured. Francis Golding's most important research was on cultural ideologies and the influence of language, in which she stated that language is not only a means of communication but also has a profound impact on individual identity, social relationships, and academic achievement. Her research looked at the philosophy of education from a new angle and recognized language as a social force. Among Frances Golding's greatest achievements is her role in educational research and reforms. He promoted the principles of social justice and equality in the field of education. His research and papers were discussed not only in the UK but also in education systems around the world. His ideas and research raised many new questions in the field of education, which aimed to see education not only as a process of transferring knowledge, but also as a social and cultural experience. Another important effort of his was the formulation of better policies in terms of ethnic diversity in educational institutions. He highlighted the challenges faced by students from different cultural backgrounds and ethnic groups in educational institutions and made effective suggestions for solving them. He believed that every student should have the right to recognize their culture and identity and to respect it in their educational journey. Dear audience, Frances Golding was a figure who left a profound impact on the field of education and not only raised awareness of the need for changes in educational institutions but also presented new ideas regarding social justice, culture, and language. His work is still a beacon for us today on how we can improve education and how we can give each individual the opportunity to develop to their full potential. Frances Golding's philosophy tells us that education is not just a means of increasing an individual's knowledge, but a resource that has the power to change the entire social structure. Frances Golding's personality was not only a scholarly and pedagogical figure, but she was also a profound intellectual and social activist. The purpose of her life was not only the development of educational ideas, but she used these ideas practically for social reform and equality. An important aspect of her personality was her revolutionary and pioneering attitude, which distinguished her from other education experts of her time. Frances Golding belonged to an era when many important questions were being raised around the world regarding human rights and equality. There was a clear social sensitivity in her personality, which she expressed repeatedly in her work. He always tried to make education accessible to everyone, especially those who were socially or economically disadvantaged. He raised his voice on issues such as the lack of quality of education in educational institutions and racial discrimination. Golding's work reflects her deep cultural commitment. She believed that education was not simply a process of transmitting knowledge, but a means by which people could be led towards social justice and equality. She believed that educational institutions could not succeed in their purpose unless they respected cultural and ethnic diversity. Limited information is available about Frances Golding's religious beliefs or her religious identity, and there are few examples of her openly expressing religion or spirituality during her lifetime. Much of her work focused on educational, social, and cultural theories, in which she highlighted various aspects of education, language, and culture. Nevertheless, it can be said that Frances Golding's work was focused on social justice, equality, and the protection of human rights, which are often compatible with religious values. He believed that providing education to every individual and creating an environment of equality in educational institutions was a moral duty, which was in line with the basic principles of humanity. This approach shows a deep humanitarian thought and moral sensitivity, which is in line with the teachings of human rights, equality, and justice of different religions. In his research and teaching, he emphasized how special measures could be adopted in the education system for students from different cultural backgrounds so that they could better develop their abilities. His teachings and research laid the foundation for changes in various educational policies, and their impact was felt at the global level. What was most striking about Golding's personality was his theoretical depth and teaching skills. He did not limit himself to teaching educational theories alone, but also incorporated his theories into his teaching methods in practice. Her teaching style was not only about imparting information but was also known for challenging students' thinking and encouraging them to think from new angles. She always emphasized the importance of a teacher's role not only being a provider of information, but also playing a vital role in the intellectual and emotional development of students. Her teaching practices were not only focused on the syllabus but also emphasized the social and moral development of students. Frances Golding was a natural leader, and her leadership style became part of a huge movement. She acted as a mentor not only to her students but also to her fellow teachers. What was most remarkable about her personality was her passion and determination, which motivated her to give a new direction to the field of education. She showed through her work that true leadership is not limited to the patronage of an institution or organization, but rather it is related to the